Starting lineup. Stephen A., would you play Schwarber in the outfield game 3?
No, I would not. And I know that's sacrilegious because this brother is big time. I've been incredibly impressed with him, no doubt about it. But that's exactly right. And I openly confess to you, Max, I'm being overly cautious here. I'm being overly cautious, a little bit emotional from this perspective. I want this kid available. I don't want anything to happen to him that would jeopardize him for a potential 5th, 6th, 7th game. I know that he hasn't played but 2 or 3 games this year. I know he hasn't played a game at Wrigley Field this year. With the kind of year that Chicago has had, with the way they have performed, particularly in the postseason, the fact that this guy hasn't been eligible to play and having barely swung a bat, first time up at bat in the World Series, doubles, okay? Gets 2 more hits last night, flat out balling, nothing but love and respect for him. I'm saying I need to make sure, even if I got to sit him for game 3 and then bring him in for game 4, 5, and beyond, I got to make sure if there's any doubt, and right now there are questions, he's going to work out today, they'll find out whether or not he could play the field tonight. I'm thinking just the fact that you have that question, building off this momentum from game 2 victory, knowing that it's a 2-3-2 format, this is the game to sit him out. You can always bring him in as a pinch hitter, all right? You can do that at any time, and because you can do that at any time, you can bring him in as a pinch hitter, you could still potentially get his bat. Having him in the field is not that important, particularly if he could tweak something coming off that ACL and jeopardize it. I totally understand anybody that feels differently, but for me, I'm so cautious because I know that Terry Francona's Indians ain't going down with a fight. I can't see you as the Cubs just steamrolling over them the rest of the way. I'm viewing this as a 6 or 7 game series. If I got to sit him out at least just one more day to make sure that he's ready, I'm going to do that rather than risk losing him for the waning portion of the series.
If he's ready, you got to play him. You got to play him. It's tough that it's in a National League park and you can't DH him. You're going to have to play him in the outfield. It's not like he plays center field. Look, defense and pitching, after I'm getting done every day saying, actually, even what the scouts and the fans have been saying all these years, it's pitching and defense in the playoffs. And it seems like, well, why isn't it offense in the playoffs? In fact, all the sabermetrics guys and the analytics guys all say, no, actually, it is pitching and defense in the playoffs. That's been corroborated. It really is, and he's not a defender.
And in your defense, I'm not going to get on you for bringing up sabermetrics because it's appropriate with baseball.
Okay.
Go ahead. Very good. I'm not going to get on you about
analytics,
that. I'm going to let it go.
Works in all the sports. It's just a tool, but it works in all the sports. I like analytics.
Got it.
So I get it, like you want defense. But then there's common sense. This dude has 5 postseason home runs already. He's swinging a white-hot bat. You can't take his bat out of the lineup. Like, even if he was making errors every time the ball was hit toward him, if he's hitting a home run a game, if every 4 at-bats he's hitting one out, I don't care about the errors, number one. Number two, you know how many postseason errors he has? 0. He has, I think, 11 chances. He's made them all. Now, that doesn't suggest he has very good range in the outfield or anything like that. But if the ball is hit to him, he has shown he will catch it. So if he's ready to go, by the way, none of the home runs have come as a pinch hitter. He's had at-bats. If he's ready to go, you got to play him. Then the question is, well, what kind of hitter is he really? Like, not only he's a hot hitter, but can he hit? Every level of the minor leagues, this guy has raked in single A, double A, triple A. He's a slugger. He's 23 years old. This is not an illusion. The guy can hit, period. Especially right-hand pitching. You know, left-hand hitter's not going to hit lefties. But although he hit one out against the lefty in the postseason, but especially right-handed pitching. These games are too important. They're too high leverage. If a guy is as hot as him and has been as good as him in these situations throughout his career, you can't just insert him for one at-bat. You can't take that. That's like 25% of his offensive value instead of 100%. You're going to take 75% of his offensive value away because he's not a slick glove or because you're afraid he's going to get hurt. Boy, there's no time for that right now. Win as much as you can, as fast as you can. He has to be in the lineup.
I guess what I'm saying to you is that, again, you're talking about his on-field production. No one's disputing that. What I'm saying is, if there are question marks as to whether or not he's physically able to play the field, that is what has me hesitant because I'm thinking of this series going 6 or 7 games. There's no one on the planet who can refute what he has done at the plate. what he has done in this postseason in these 2 World Series games. We've seen it, even against Kluber, smacking a double when he was unhittable against everybody else. That says a lot about Schwarber. He can flat out slug it and to not even get any at-bats during the regular season, essentially, okay, because that's basically what it amounts to. And for him to still be eligible to be put on a roster and Theo Epstein and the crew willing to do so speaks volumes about him. I'm only saying, if I'm worried about him potentially tweaking his injury in any way,
you got to take that risk. If a hitter, one of the reasons that you
why can't you wait to see the momentum and then if necessary bring him in as a pitch hitter?
It's the postseason. There's no games to play with. One of the reasons that's why Kluber.
Well, he wasn't the only one hitting. Rizzo got hits last night. Zobrist got hits last night. Why not try?
One of the reasons you want pitching and defense in the playoffs as opposed to hitting is you don't think it's as streaky. Hitting tends to be streakier. And if a guy is hot now, if he's in that zone, if he's riding that wave of momentum, if he feels locked in at the plate, you don't mess with that, bringing him off the bench, sitting there cold all game. You get him his at-bats now.
I feel you. I don't blame you for feeling that way. I'm just telling you, I'm admitting I'll be a chicken. I'm like, I need this because Terry Francona's coming. I just don't believe. Therefore, I think this is going 6-7 games, and I'm going to need Schwarber.
So put your foot on the throat now.
If you tweak it and he gets hurt, you don't have him for the rest of the series. Ooh,
let's leave it there. It is a great time of year. The NBA is back. Let's talk about it, shall we? Who needs Kobe Bryant anyway? The Lakers win their season opener last night in their first real game of the post-Mamba era. Is the Lake Show for real? We'll get into it next.
Hi, I'm Usain Bolt, the fastest man in the world, and people of Jamaica love and watch for a steak.
They showed up, putting up their most points scored in a season opener, gentlemen, since '91. Defeating Houston 120-114, Jordan Clarkson had a team-high 25 points off the bench. The number 2 overall pick in this year's draft, Brandon Ingram, had 9 points in his NBA debut. Max, are you buying the Lakers post-Kobe?
I am.
Really?
And by the way, let me just say, you want to compare the Lakers' record in let's say the last 3 seasons of Kobe's career to what it's going to be this season and the next 2, I guarantee you they will win more games now. The Lakers did something smart. What they did, Stephen A., is they had an aging superstar who was coming off a catastrophic injury in Kobe Bryant and couldn't play anymore, really. I mean, a game here and there, but otherwise. And all the fans wanted to see him, and he needed the ball. So what they did is they hired Byron Scott, unfortunately for Byron, basically to be a babysitter for Kobe. And they let Kobe play out the string and shoot as much as he wanted and do whatever he wanted. Legendary superstar, and the Yankees did the baseball version with Derek Jeter. It happens from time to time. But the upside was they got to draft really high. Even though they had traded a pick that was only top 5 protected and top 3 protected, they got to draft Brandon Ingram, D'Angelo Russell, to go with Julius Randle. They stole Jordan Clarkson in the 2nd round, and they got a really good nucleus. They took D'Angelo Russell when people like you were calling for them to take Okafor. In a league where the back-to-the-basket post guy who can't close out on the three-point shooter, switch on defense and everything, doesn't have nearly the value he used to have. They took a guy in D'Angelo Russell, while he's limited in certain ways athletically, supposedly, even though he has a 39-inch vertical. This guy his passing in the pick and roll as a rookie was already better than the majority of veteran point guards, which is a skill you really need in this NBA. He shoots the 3 well off the bat and will only get better. They took a really, really good point guard for this modern NBA system and have surrounded him with elite draft talent. That was the result of signing Kobe to that contract. So they won on all fronts. They gave the fans what they want. They gave Kobe what they want. They let him exit the way they wanted. Then, when that era's over, they bring in the coach they actually want in Luke Walton. And they're now going to run a modern NBA system with the pieces they need to run it. The future's bright for the Lakers.
Well, first of all, I think you're giving them too much credit because a lot of it was by accident, and I don't even have time to go into the accident that the Lakers have been over recent memory. But I have, and I will on national TV make a declaration. Out of respect for the great Jerry West, out of respect for a lot of people that I know that are diehard Laker followers. They're my friends, some within the organization, some outside the organization. I've turned over a new leaf.
Really?
I'm not going to excoriate and vilify Jim Buss on a regular basis, regardless of the respect I don't have for him, regardless of the job I think he has done on too many occasions. Remember, Max Kellerman, when I've gotten on Jim Buss, unlike critics who have questioned his basketball acumen, I have never questioned that. I've never said Jim Buss doesn't know what he's doing. What I've said is that, and what I've excoriated him for, was allowing his emotions to get in the way of his basketball judgment. Because you're concerned with who your sister's dating, because you can't stand the coach, because you think or knew your father didn't like somebody, or whatever the case may be, you made decisions that got in the way of this organization moving progressively forward. That was my issue with him, not his basketball acumen or supposed lack thereof. No, it was letting his emotions get in the way of his judgment. But I have promised people that I love dearly that I'm going to be nicer to Jim Buss. So
That's
here
news. You used to come on my radio show every couple of weeks.
Right. It's big news.
I like the new you, Stephen A.
Big news. I'm going to be nice to Jim Buss from now on. Having said that, let me say this. When we look at the Los Angeles Lakers, I'm not going to get excited because they played the Houston Rockets. Mike D'Antoni, here we go again, former Laker coach, who was brought in by Jim Buss, who backdoored Phil Jackson in the middle of the night and brought Mike D'Antoni in. Again, I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to go there. What I will say to you is this. This same guy, in terms of looking at the Houston Rockets, what happened here, Max Kellerman? You gave up 120 points. Your first game as coach of the Houston Rockets, you surrender 120 points. Let me read out some of these names. And I mean no disrespect, because I'm fond of all of these kids and I think they have promise. But can you tell me whether it's Jordan Clarkson, who came off the bench, by the way, and I think that's a brilliant move by Luke Walton to bring him off the bench. He dropped 25 last night. Lou Williams, who can play. We know these guys can play.
Nice contract they signed Lou Williams to, too. Not except $7 million a year.
Not bad, not bad.
Clarkson in the second round.
But listen to this. Julius Randle, D'Angelo Russell, Luau Deng, Swaggy P, and Timothy Mozgov is your starting five. And you give up 120 points? 120. See,
sounds about right for that unit right now.
This is why.
Against the fast pace. D'Antoni's team played a fast pace?
Yes, they do play a fast pace, but I'm telling you, because I like him as a person. D'Antoni's a good man, and he's really, really smart.
Mike Antoni.
Mike
Antoni, no D.
Listen, listen, I'm telling you, NBA coaches all over the league have been lamenting for years.
I want to get into the Lakers for a second.
Defense.
I want to get into the Lakers. I want to get into the Lakers.
That's where I'm at with this, Mac.
I have a lot of respect for the late great Dr. Jerry Buss.
Yes.
I think he's the greatest owner in the history of American team sports. I don't think it's close. When he took over the Lakers, the Celtics were by far the greatest franchise in history. They had 13 championships. Lakers were second with 6.
I'm partial to the late George Steinbrenner, but go ahead.
By the way, I'm the biggest Yankee fan in the world. The answer is Dr. Buss. Dr. Jerry Buss, by the time he passed, the Lakers had the second most championships in history by 1. They basically have caught the Celtics, and they're killing them, trouncing them, destroying them and every other franchise in the modern era with 10. Post-shot clock, merger, whatever you want to define the modern era as, the Lakers have absolutely owned it. And the last thing that Dr. Buss did, I think almost as a legacy move, was he left a structure in place for the team where Jim Buss was going to be the head of basketball, and Jeannie Buss really the team boss. She's the one who shows up at the owner meetings. She's the head of business. And I think he did that for a reason. I think he wanted to make sure, I have a lot of admiration for the family, that he wanted to keep the family together, that he wanted to make sure the children had to work together in order for the Lakers franchise to have success. Didn't happen at first. When they pulled off that Chris Paul heist, which was a heist that Jim Buss and Mitch Kupchak deserve amazing credit for, Jeannie Buss was at the owners' meeting. She could gauge that these owners were not happy with the way things were going, and the lack of communication between her and Jim resulted in effect, that trade was rescinded. The lack of communication between the siblings. And I believe over time, now that Kobe's gone, now that that's not an issue anymore, the communication will get better. And as that happens, the Lakers will also get better.
But
I think the future is bright.
Hold on. I let you go. You can believe what you want. I'm giving you facts in terms of what happened. You just dropped a lot of facts, and I appreciate that. But let's understand the context in which it was given. You knew that the league was were the de facto owners of the New Orleans Hornets at the time. So the chances of the Chris Paul trade going through was slim to none because Dan Gilbert, fresh off LeBron exiting from Miami, and the maelstrom of cynicism and beyond that ultimately that was going to provoke, that wasn't the time. What I mean by that is this. When you acquire Chris Paul, you don't acquire Chris Paul and save $20 million in cap space. Go back and read Dan Gilbert's letter to the league.
You're arguing they made too good a deal.
No.
That Jim made too good a deal.
Let me tell you why. Exactly. But let me tell you why that's relevant. Because you didn't make it with a foolish owner. The league were the de facto owners that had an obligation to look out for the league, not just the team. You have to know that if you Mitch Kupchak and Jim Buss and Jeannie Buss and them. And the fact that they weren't communicating well enough, which means they couldn't read the tea leaves, it compromised them. So you're saying, oh, now we're going to move forward and better times are ahead. I'm saying there was never a reason for the bad times to exist and get in the way of the basketball decisions.
Think about the point you're making.
They messed up for years and put this in. You were working radio in Los Angeles, which is why I let you go on with that. Come on now. You in L.A. How miserable were your times in L.A. talking about the Lakers? You gonna sit up there and messed up this franchise for years
Only
and years.
If they would have taken Okafor over D'Angelo
because of your personal feelings. Because of your personal feelings. That's inexcusable, man. You don't put a city through what the Lakers put them through just because your siblings don't get along with each other. You don't do that.
Think about what you're saying. You're actually saying you're excoriating Jim Buss and Mitch Kupchak because the
not
deal.
Mitch, not Mitch.